Tiger's back. It's Masters Week. Masters Week? No. It's Frozen 4 week. NCAA all the way. Come on. Listen, if y'all don't know that it is opening week for baseball, seriously, I need to tell you that? No. Are you not aware that the Rocket are, in the midst of a playoff push? We're talking playoff hockey here, people. I think it's safe to say that it's the week of all the sports. But let's us talk about the Montreal Canadiens, all right? Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Habs Hockey Report right here on All Habs Hockey Magazine, Rocket Sports Media. My name is Amy Johnson. I'm your host for the show each and every Thursday, and we've got a great one lined up for you today. First, if you could do us a favor and just hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. We've had droves of people subscribing in the last few weeks since the premiere of Habs Hockey Report, and we'd invite you to do the same. Of course, we always want to get you thinking about the feedback forum question for this week. Remember, here's the question. We're going to bring it to you every week, and then you just drop a comment down below, and we will read your responses on next week's show. This week, it is all about Brendan Gallagher and his comments in the media about Tim Stützle. How did you feel about what Gally had to say? Drop us a comment down below. Let us know how you felt about what Brendan Gallagher had to say. We'll talk about it a little bit more coming up here shortly. Okay, so let's start with Habs happenings as we always do. You know what? The Montreal Canadiens, aside from that pretty incredible win that they had against Tampa, Cole Caulfield was kind of coming into his own in that one. A very exciting game and fun to watch. But aside from that, really, the Habs aren't winning. But you know what? So what at this point? We know they're not making the playoffs. And so just getting to watch them have fun, watching the young guys get a lot of ice time, get a lot of experience. It's really been kind of a relief and a pleasure to watch the Canadiens as they finish out this season. And hey, Carey Price is going to travel. Carey Price starting to take a lot more ice time in practice. Will we see him before the end of the season? But really, it's been fun to watch the young guys. Justin Barron scoring his very first NHL goal already. Against the Ottawa Senators. And man, it wasn't one of those greasy goals either. It was a sweet looking shot. Really just rang it bar down. And it was, the place went nuts. The Bell Center just absolutely went nuts for the young man. He was very appreciative of that, and it was exciting to see that happen. You know, it's those firsts that is always so much fun to watch. Another first was we got to see Jordan Harris take his solo lap. Looked to be having some fun. I have to say, Jordan Harris has been very poised, very calm, slotting right in. I think those 4 years spent in the NCAA did that young man a lot of good. We talked about how in his first press conference, he came across as very calm, very mature, very grounded and well-spoken. Well, that also translates onto the ice as well. He's poised, he's calm, he's in the right places, he looks very strong in his position, so I'm very excited to see what Jordan Harris is going to continue to do here down the stretch, and of course then going into the fall. I think that's going to be pretty fun to watch. Now, Justin Barron, of course, a little bit scary on Tuesday night in that Ottawa game. Unfortunately, we saw there was the excitement of his first NHL goal, but then he got tangled up with an Ottawa player, went down very awkwardly. His knee and his ankle kind of got caught underneath of the Ottawa player as they went down. He got up and finished the game and was able to finish, and it was kind of like, whew, that's breathing a sigh of relief. And then he met with the media on Wednesday morning. And so meeting with the media, I think everyone thought, oh, well, good. Okay. He's doing all right, because everyone's a little nervous that this young prospect that just scored his first NHL goal got injured. After his press conference, then the Canadiens announced he's not traveling this week. So obviously there's been some sort of little tweak, hopefully not major, whether it's his knee or his ankle. And we hope that's not going to keep him out for too long. He's going to miss these 2 road games this weekend. And we hope that maybe by next week, when the Canadiens return to Montreal, that maybe he'll be able to slot back in the lineup. Injuries were, or potential injuries, I should say, were, of course, the hot topic in that game. Nick Suzuki, knee-to-knee contact, not intentional. It didn't look like Nick Suzuki did it intentionally, but still a dangerous collision down low behind the net with Tim Stützle. And Stützle, of course, went down, grabbing his knee a little bit. He was down writhing in pain for a little while. I am not here to discuss whether or not all of that was real or fake. Does every hockey player sell it anytime there's contact? Absolutely. Does Tim Stützle have a pedigree of selling things to try to draw a call? Maybe. He does tend to draw more penalties than he takes, but that's not a bad thing. There was knee-to-knee contact. I genuinely believe there was some pain there. Whether it was warranting him staying down on the ice that long, who knows? I think Nick Suzuki was still getting that kneeing call regardless of Tim Stützle's behavior afterwards. However, there were plenty on the Montreal Canadiens bench who didn't like it, and you saw Brendan Gallagher get really fired up about it on the ice. He had got into some scrums towards the end of the game. You could see the frustrations there. And then post-game, Brendan Gallagher kind of let loose, calling Tim Stützle out, basically calling him a diver, and calling it embarrassing, saying that, we're role models and kids are watching us and you shouldn't behave that way. And if I were his teammate, I would tell him to smarten up. These were all little snippets of things that Brendan Gallagher said. It's a little controversial. There are plenty, of course, who are right there supporting Brendan Gallagher, saying, yeah, that's exactly the kind of call-outs we like to see our leaders do. There are, of course, Sens fans and others who are criticizing Gallagher, saying maybe that was a little harsh. We understand you were frustrated. You didn't win the game. Brendan Gallagher also, by the way, scored his very first even-strength goal of the season that night. It's not been a great year for Brendan Gallagher. And so, of course, there's frustrations. Gallagher's been commenting a lot more in public, if you haven't noticed. And it hasn't just been in post-game press conferences. It's also been on Twitter. Twice now, and once happened over the weekend, twice now this season, while he's been out of the lineup with injury or COVID, he has actually tweeted during a Habs game when something happens that he doesn't agree with. And there was a call that happened over the weekend that obviously Brendan Gallagher was sitting in the suite in the press box watching the game that he didn't agree with. And in the middle of the game, Brendan Gallagher is tweeting the little kind of thinking emoji face. Where do I fall on that? I would like to see. I absolutely don't like the player tweeting his opinions about things as the game is going on. I mean, even if you're sitting in the press box, you're at work. You shouldn't be on Twitter. You should be focused on the game, focused on your teammates who are with you in the press box. I think some of his comments went a little far this past week. It's fine to be frustrated. It's fine to be upset. But he was making some character judgments about Tim Stützle that I don't know if roles were reversed. I'm pretty sure Habs fans would not feel the same way that they currently do about Brendan Gallagher making those statements. Leave me a comment down below. I'd really like to know how you felt about what Brendan Gallagher said, whether you agreed with it, disagreed with it, and whether you liked him coming out with those comments. Leave us a comment down below. We're going to read your responses next week on the show. Time to get you all caught up with the Laval Rocket. Ouch. boy, did they have a tough weekend to round out their Western road trip last week, dropping 2 games to the Abbotsford Canucks last Saturday and Sunday. It was a tough one for sure, and it certainly, what's already a very tightly contested North Division got even tighter because of those 2 losses. They only took 3 out of 8 possible points on the road last week. Not ideal for the Laval Rocket. They are still sitting in second place, but everybody else, Rochester was winning, Syracuse was winning, Belleville was winning, Toronto was getting points. So everyone else just tightened up a little bit closer, as in a division that's already so very, very clogged. Then they came home. They're starting a 3-game road homestand this week, against division rivals, hosting the Rochester Americans last night, Wednesday night, and then again on Friday night before the Utica Comets, who have led the division from the beginning of the season, on Saturday. And Wednesday night's game against Rochester was just completely flipped the switch. Laval has loved playing at home, particularly on Wednesday nights this season. They're very successful on Wednesday nights, and no shortage of goals. They absolutely dominated after what was a tough first period. They were struggling to get shots on net, but then JF Uhl switched up his lines, did some juggling, and they came out firing in the second and third, scoring 4 goals in the third period, 2 power play goals on the night, which is something that has been very, they've struggled a lot with the power play this season. So a very solid victory. A lot of other people in the division, though, also got points last night. So it's still tight between second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth. There's big question marks as to who is actually going to finish where within a playoff spot. Of course, for all of our game recaps, both for the Montreal Canadiens and for the Laval Rocket, 2 websites that you want to hit. You've seen them scrolling along down at the bottom of the screen. Allhabs.net is where you want to go for every Montreal Canadiens game. There's comprehensive game day game previews and game recaps. And then on ahlreport.com, you've got full game recaps and post-game audio for the Laval Rocket as well. We've got you covered every which way for the Habs and for Laval. Wednesday night was also Cedric Paquette's first game back after missing a few with injury. He was right back on the scoreboard again, scoring one of those power play goals. Cedric Paquette is looking very comfortable in the AHL, much more so than his struggles at the NHL level. So I think that he is well suited to help Laval push through to the postseason. Really great to see that. Injuries, JF Uhl is going to get some reinforcements coming this week. Alex Belzile slated to be back later this week, as well as Tori Dello, Toby Paquette-Bisson on the back end. Cam Hillis should be back this week. Lots of guys coming back into the lineup, which will help JF Uhl kind of solidify his roster and get some regular faces back in. Also, Lucas Condata has joined the team. He was signed to a 1-year entry-level contract last week by the Montreal Canadiens out of the NCAA from UMass Lowell. So he has a 1-year ELC, signed a PTO last week, and joined the Laval Rocket. He has not played yet. He's practiced with them a couple of times. JF Uhl told me yesterday that he's hoping maybe Condata might play at some point towards the end of this week or early next week. Additionally, Emil Heineman, who was a prospect that came back in the Tyler Toffoli trade from Calgary, he is slated to arrive from Sweden. He also signed a 3-year ELC last week with the Canadiens. He is slated to sign a PTO with the Laval Rocket. JF said yesterday that he should be arriving in Montreal probably sometime late this week. He'll take his time getting Emil acclimated, getting in some practices. So maybe in about a week we might see him with some game action. But very exciting to see a couple of new faces, fresh blood on the ice with Laval. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch them. But we also promised you that we're going to have more exclusive one-on-one player interviews coming, and I'm happy to report we've got not 1, but 2 exclusive player interviews coming this month at Habs Hockey Report. So again, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss it. I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. Not going to tell you. You're going to have to wait and come back each week to find out, but they're going to be really, really fun, informative interviews. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, it's time for the Habs Fan Hub, and this is where we get to talk to you, our viewers. I love this part of the show. So many of you keep writing in and giving us your thoughts, your opinions, asking questions, and really, the All Habs roll call is still going on every week. If you're new to the show, drop us a comment down below. Let us know where you're watching from, how long you've been a Habs fan or a Rocket fan. And this week we heard from a few new viewers. First, we have Robert. He says, I'm watching from Muskegon, Michigan. Been a Habs fan since 1971 when I lived just over the border in Plattsburgh, New York. I've been through Plattsburgh. I've been there a couple of times. Welcome, Robert. We're so glad to have you along. As well, we have a message from Dan who says, watching from Chicopee, Massachusetts. I've been a Habs fan all my life. We're originally from Valleyfield, Quebec. My family immigrated to the U.S. in 1964 when I was a 2-year-old. Anywho, love your channel. It's hard to get progress reports from the AHL affiliate, and you definitely fill that void. I only get to see the Rocket when they come play against the Springfield Falcons. Well, Dan, welcome. We're glad to have you as a viewer, and that's exactly what we're here to do. We know it's not easy to find information about the Laval Rocket, and that's why we're just as committed to bringing coverage to all of our fans and viewers of the Laval Rocket and Habs prospects as we do with the full comprehensive coverage of the Montreal Canadiens. So we're so glad that you find that valuable, and we'll continue to do that each week. Don't worry. Also, a reminder, if you're going to a game or you've got some new gear that you want to show off, post those pictures on Twitter or Facebook and use hashtag #ShowYourHabs, and we'll be sure to feature you here on the show in a future episode. Now, one more time, I'll remind you, drop a comment down below for this week's feedback forum question. What did you think of Gallagher's comments in the media this week? How did you feel about it? Let us know down below. We'll read your responses on next week's show. Last week, we had a question of who now that we're in this kind of era and this portion of time with the Canadiens that the young guys are getting a look, who would you like to see get called up next? First, we have an email from Dino who says, great show. Next man up, gotta get Jordan Harris in there for sure, as of course we've seen that's happened. Keep Ylönen with the big team too. Maybe Sammy, get him in a few games. He's talking about Sammy Niku there. He says it's tough though, because you want the Rocket to stay united and strong as a team to progress to the playoffs. Don't want to disrupt things too much. And that's a very good point, Dino. You know, it's hard for that balance of development versus, winning. So I like the answer. Very, very, very well said. We also have a comment from Michael Spinella saying, let's give Schnarr and Belpedio a look. Louis Belpedio is a veteran presence on the back end for the Rocket. We'll see if he gets a call up. I'm not sure, how urgent the Canadiens will view a Belpedio call-up. Nate Schnarr's been doing a really good job. He's got injected a lot of energy into the forward core, and we could see he's got potential. He's young. He's got a lot of skill, and he's had some pretty good success earlier in his career in hockey. And if he can really, he was having a great year playing with Utica. We'll see if that can continue. And I agree. I would like to see what he could do at the NHL level as well. So thank you for your comments. Always happy to read them. If you missed it, we did have an exclusive interview with Jesse Ylönen, and you can watch that just by clicking on the video at the end of our show and catch up on that. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you again next week.